You can go pretty much anywhere on Earth, and you'll find them. From the hottest deserts to the frozen poles, from the deepest jungles to our own city streets, birds are just everywhere. So in this explainer, we're going to dive into their incredible evolutionary story to figure out how they first conquered the air, and then, well, the entire planet.
For centuries, this was one of the biggest puzzles in the natural world. I mean, how does a creature that's totally stuck on the ground make that massive leap into the sky? It seems impossible, right? Well, the answer was actually hiding in plain sight, literally etched in stone.
And here it is. This is Archaeopteryx. When this was discovered in a German quarry, it changed everything. It's the perfect missing link. You can see it's got a reptilian skeleton, even teeth, and a long bony tail. But look closer. It's covered in the unmistakable impression of feathers. And these weren't just for insulation or show. The wing feathers are asymmetrical, just like a modern bird's. That's a dead giveaway they were built for flight. This single fossil was the proof. Birds are the descendants of reptile.
Okay, so they mastered flight. That's a huge deal. But that was just the beginning. From there, birds started to develop this amazing set of tools and abilities that let them thrive in literally every corner of the globe. This is where their story of world domination really kicks off.
Just let that number sink in for a second. 40,000 kilometers. That is the yearly round trip for the Arctic tern. Think about it. It flies from the Arctic all the way down to Antarctica and then all the way back again. It's basically chasing the summer sun between the two poles. And because of that, this little bird sees more daylight each year than any other animal on the entire planet. Incredible.
Evolution is like the ultimate specialist toolmaker, and the finch family is the perfect showcase. You've got the chaffinch with its general all-purpose beak, good for insects, berries, little seeds. Then there's the greenfinch, which needed something tougher for sunflower seeds, so it developed a heavier, stronger beak. But the hawfinch, whew, its beak is a literal power crusher. It can exert over 45 kilograms of force. That's enough to crack open a cherry stone to get to the kernel inside.
And it's not just physical tools. Birds also developed some serious super senses. Let's just compare our own vision to a buzzard's for a second. Our retina, it's got about 200,000 light-sensitive cells. A buzzard has 1 million. So what does that mean in the real world? Well, we might be able to spot a rabbit from 100 meters away if we're lucky. A buzzard can do it from 3 kilometers away. They see the world in a kind of high definition that we can't even begin to imagine.
And all of that incredible power is packed right in here, the eye of a raptor. It's a true marvel of biological engineering, perfected over millions of years. It allows them to pinpoint the tiniest twitch of movement from thousands of feet up in the air. For a bird of prey, vision isn't just one of its senses, it's its ultimate weapon.
So, armed with these incredible toolkits, flight, specialized beaks, supervision, birds started to push the absolute limits of what we thought was possible for survival. They began moving into the planet's most brutal and unforgiving places.
Okay, try to imagine living somewhere so hot and so dry that water is basically a myth. That's the daily reality for the sand grouse. Every single day, the male flies up to 80 kilometers just to find a watering hole. But here's the amazing part. He's not just drinking for himself. He has these specially adapted super absorbent belly feathers that he soaks in the water, then he flies all the way back carrying that precious cargo to his thirsty chicks.
But that incredible 80-kilometer water run? It isn't even the toughest challenge a bird has to face, not by a long shot. The source material describes one particular ordeal as, and I'm quoting here, the most extreme hardship endured by any warm-blooded animal. So what on earth could possibly be tougher than that?
The emperor penguin. These guys, to raise their young, they don't just survive the Antarctic winter. They lean into it. They choose to breed in it. Their entire strategy is this unbelievable gamble played out against the most hostile conditions this planet can throw at them.
The way they do it is just mind-blowing. First, the female lays a single egg right as the long, dark, brutal winter is setting in. Then the father takes over. He balances that egg on his feet for 2 straight months of total darkness, without eating, huddling for warmth against blizzards with winds hitting 200 kilometers an hour. While he's doing that, the mother treks for miles and miles across the ice to get to the open sea so she can finally eat. Then she comes back and they swap roles, taking turns making that dangerous journey for food until their chick is finally big enough. It is an absolute epic of teamwork and endurance. But what about the birds that took a completely different evolutionary turn? Some species gave up flight altogether. And in doing that, they opened themselves up to entirely new kinds of danger. This whole dynamic played out in the most dramatic way possible in ancient New Zealand. For millions of years, the islands had no land predators. This allowed the giant moa to evolve, this massive, flightless plant eater. But just because the ground was safe didn't mean the sky was. It was hunted by the Haast's eagle, the largest eagle that has ever existed, an eagle with talons as big as a tiger's claws. It was this incredible duel between a giant on the ground and a super predator from the air.
In the end, though, the moa's biggest threat wasn't its ancient eagle predator. It was a new kind of mammal that showed up on boats. Us, humans. Because the moas had evolved for millions of years with no fear of anything on the ground, they were tragically easy prey. They were hunted to complete extinction in just a few hundred years.
And that brings our story right up to today, to a world that is completely and utterly dominated by people. And yet, birds are still here, and they're still adapting, finding these really ingenious ways to live right alongside us.
I mean, the sheer brain power on display here is just incredible. Crows in a city in Japan figured out this whole multi-step plan to crack open tough walnuts. They find a nut, wait for a red light, place the nut in the crosswalk, and let a car run it over. Then they just wait for the next red light to safely go and grab their reward. This isn't just instinct. This is observation, learning, and some seriously complex problem solving. It just goes to show you how ridiculously adaptable our feathered neighbors really are.
So from the age of the dinosaurs to the age of the automobile, birds have proven over and over again that they are the ultimate survivors. They're constantly adapting, constantly innovating. We've seen them master flight, achieve unbelievable feats of endurance, and show off stunning intelligence. So as they continue to adapt to this world that we've built, the real question left is one we have to answer for them.